Ruby, wake up.
Mommy?
I heard noises. I'm not used to having kids in the house.
Thank you.
Got me freezing. With all the glass, you can hear everything. I gotta start setting the alarm at night. You coming?
The movie opens inside a darkened theater in California, where 16-year-old Ruby Baker sits with her friends, watching a horror film and laughing at every cheap scare. She isn't easily rattled. When the credits roll and the girls start planning where to drift next, Ruby tells them she has to head home before her parents catch on. As far as David and Grace Baker know, their daughter is asleep in her bed. The next morning, breakfast is ordinary. David and Grace move around the kitchen while Ruby's little brother Rhett picks at his food. Nobody suspects a thing. Ruby leaves for school, meets her friends in the halls, and they whisper about going out again that night. By evening, David and Grace have slipped out to a quiet restaurant to celebrate their 20th anniversary, completely unaware that their daughter is back on the same streets, smoking, speeding through traffic, and slipping into a rave with friends who joke about how easily her parents are fooled. Ruby laughs along. She has no idea this is the last night her parents will ever be alive.
Glow sticks if somebody else buys it.
When she finally drifts home in the early hours, she sprays perfume to mask the smoke clinging to her clothes. Then she sees it. A patrol car parked outside the house, its lights cutting through the dark. Her stomach drops. She assumes her parents must have called the police on her, that this is the end of her secret double life. She walks inside ready to face the lecture of a lifetime. Instead, the officers look at her with the kind of soft, careful expression that always means something has gone terribly wrong. David and Grace Baker have been killed in a car crash on Mulholland Drive. Drunk driving, they say. The room tilts. Ruby faints.
Relax. Ruby? Get a pulse.
Can you hear me, Ruby?
The funeral arrives like a fog. 11-year-old Rhett steps forward to say a few words about his parents, but the grief breaks him before he can speak. Two figures move in to comfort him. Terry Glass, a charismatic businessman with sharp eyes and a smooth voice, and his wife, Dr. Erin Glass, an elegant woman with a doctor's poise. They were close friends of the Bakers. Terry takes the microphone and delivers a tribute so eloquent, so moving, that the entire room is left wiping their eyes. He sounds like a man who genuinely loved David and Grace. Maybe too eloquent, maybe too rehearsed.
But they will live on through their children. And in all our hearts.
Outside, Ruby is approached by her Uncle Jack, her mother's brother from Chicago. He hasn't seen her in 10 years, but he tells her gently that if she ever needs anything, he is just a phone call away. Ruby barely registers the offer. Jack lives across the country, and right now everything feels far away. She thanks him and walks back inside, where neighbors and strangers fill her living room with whispered condolences. In the kitchen, she finds a moment alone, and that is where Alvin Begliter introduces himself. He is the family lawyer, a quiet older man with kind eyes. He tells her that her parents left behind enough money to take care of her and Rhett for the rest of their lives. He also tells her that David and Grace named guardians in their will, Terry and Erin Glass. Alvin hands her his card before slipping out, and on cue, the Glasses enter to embrace her with practiced warmth.
You're in good hands.
A few days later, Ruby and Rhett pack up their old lives and follow the Glasses to Malibu. When the car turns onto a private drive, the siblings can only stare. The house is enormous, perched on a cliff above the Pacific, its walls made almost entirely of glass. Every room looks out onto the ocean. Every room can also be looked into. Terry gives them a smiling tour, introduces them to the housekeeper Vicky, and finally leads them to a single bedroom they will be sharing. In a house this massive, the children are stuffed into one room. He says it is only temporary. Neither of them believes him.
If you even glance at me when I'm changing for bed, you're so busted.
That evening, Erin serves a tasteful dinner the kids refuse to touch, so she shrugs and orders pizza. When bedtime comes, Ruby slips into the hallway to change, and the back of her neck prickles. She feels watched. She turns sharply and catches a shadow retreating into the dark. The glass house is supposed to let in the light, but somehow it lets in something else too. The next morning, Ruby starts at her new public school, having been quietly pulled out of the private one her parents had paid for. She breaks the ice with a joke, but the moment classmates ask why she moved to Malibu, her smile dies. When she returns home that afternoon, gifts wait in her bedroom. A pile of fresh clothes for Ruby, and for Rhett, every game console a kid could dream of. A Sony PlayStation, a Nintendo 64. The boy is delighted. The girl is suspicious. And isn't that always how it begins, with one of the children being bought and the other being watched?
Ruby, I got us an assortment. Ruby, I really think that you would be well served by a better attitude. I'm speaking about your attitude towards your new school.
My attitude?
I overheard your conversation.
We're listening in on my call?
I was trying to get a line out, but otherwise you're just going to isolate yourself.
Okay, I get it. I learned something.
Late at night, Ruby can't sleep. She slips on a swimsuit and steps out to the pool. The water calms her until a figure appears in the shadows. Terry. He says he heard a noise and thought there was an intruder, but as Ruby climbs out, his eyes linger a beat too long. He hands her a towel and stares. He tells her there will be no more night swimming, that the glass walls let sound carry, and that from now on he will arm the alarm before bed. Ruby walks back to her room with her skin crawling. In driver's ed class the next day, the instructor plays a video about drunk driving. Ruby's vision blurred. All she can see is her parents, the highway, the wreckage. Later at dinner, when the Glasses ask innocently how her class went, she excuses herself and disappears into the bathroom looking for painkillers. Erin finds her there and offers comfort. When Ruby lies about cramps, Erin guides her to her own bathroom, where Ruby's eyes catch on something strange. A cabinet brimming with pharmaceuticals, far more than any household should hold. Erin gives her a single pill and tells her it will help. Ruby swallows it and floats into bed, her body heavy, her mind dull. That wasn't a painkiller. Whatever it was strong enough to keep her down for hours. When she wakes in the middle of the night, she finds Rhett collapsed asleep in front of the television. As she carries him to bed, she hears Terry and Erin arguing somewhere down the hall. She steps out to listen, and Terry catches her there. He says nothing. He simply pulls the curtains shut between them, and the message could not be clearer. At school the next morning, a classmate asks about a rumor she has heard that Ruby was once put on academic probation. Ruby shrugs and admits the truth, that she once downloaded an essay off the internet and turned it in as her own and got caught. A small confession, a small detail, the kind of detail a predator listens for and remembers. That afternoon, Terry invites Ruby out, claiming he is taking her to a movie premiere. Instead, he drives her to a restaurant alone. He reminisces about meeting her parents, his voice warm and inviting, and Ruby tries to ask whether last night's argument was about her and Rhett. Terry brushes it off. Just married couple things, he says. And then, almost casually, he adds that being married to Erin can be a lonely life. The word lingers in the air longer than it should. Ruby reminds him about her bedtime, and he obliges. But on the drive home, he pushes the car faster and faster, weaving recklessly. A horn screams as another car nearly hits them. Terry pulls over. He leans across the seat toward Ruby, his face inches from hers, and her breath stops. Then he reaches past her, clicks her seatbelt into place, and smiles. He says he was only fastening her belt. Ruby is frozen.
Hey, try not to make too much noise. I'm sure Rhett and Erin are asleep.
At the house, Ruby tiptoes into the living room to grab her books, and there in the dim light she finds Erin slumped on the couch, a needle in her arm. Not a diabetic injection, not insulin. A real needle in a real vein, and a woman drifting somewhere far from reality. Ruby backs away, her heart pounding. The mask of the perfect guardian family is starting to slip. The next day, Ruby plays her first real move. She talks Vicky the housekeeper into driving her halfway into town, then hitches the rest of the way to Alvin Begleder's office. She tells him everything: the shared bedroom, Terry's behavior in the car, Erin and the needle. Alvin listens, troubled but cautious. He warns Ruby that if it doesn't work out with the Glasses, she and Rhett will become wards of the state, shuffled into foster care. He promises he will look into it. Before she leaves, Ruby asks one last question. How much money did her parents really leave behind? Alvin tells her the figure: $4 million. The number lands like a stone. After she walks out, Alvin reaches for the phone and makes a call. He has known Terry for years. He trusts him. He has no idea what he has just done.
I just had a real disturbing visit from Ruby Big.
That night, the Glasses sit Ruby down and calmly explain that what she saw was insulin, not heroin. Erin is diabetic, they tell her. Terry adds that Ruby has seemed jumpy around him, and he hopes she can learn to trust them. Ruby nods. Maybe she has overreacted. Maybe.
That makes us feel sad. We want you to trust us, Ruby.
I know I overreacted. I'm sorry.
We're all under stress.
Gonna go begin my Hamlet paper.
Well, hey, if you need any help, let me know.
That'd be great.
Then comes the day no one picks her up from driving school. Ruby walks the long stretch alone to Glass Transit Incorporated, Terry's company, where the receptionist directs her to wait in a lounge. From there, through a glass wall, Ruby watches her guardian being slammed against a window by two large men, loan sharks. Their hands are around his collar, and Terry is sweating. Ruby backs away into the repair garage, and what she finds there nearly stops her heart. Her parents' Saab, the car they were supposedly driving the night they died, sitting untouched.
Can I help you?
Whose car is this?
You showed up one day,
One day when?
a few months ago.
We used to have a car kind of like this.
Yeah, you really shouldn't be back here.
Before she can process it, Terry appears, all smiles. Time to go home. On the drive back, Terry casually mentions that he had to fire Vicky, the housekeeper, the one person in that house who had ever been kind to her. He tells Ruby that the people who live in that house need to know everything that happens inside it. The threat is gentle. The threat is unmistakable.
How did you know that she drove me?
It's our job to know.
Over dinner that evening, Ruby watches as Terry punches the code into the home security system. Her eyes track every digit. She writes the numbers down the moment she gets to her room. Then she goes online and pulls up the news article about her parents' accident. And there it is in black and white. The car they died in was not the Saab. It was a BMW sedan. She emails Alvin immediately. Then exhaustion takes her and she falls asleep at the keyboard, her Hamlet essay still unfinished on the screen. Sometime in the night, Terry walks past, sees the half-written paper, and smiles. By morning, the essay is done, polished, complete. Ruby thanks him cautiously. Terry only winks. It is the kind of wink that should send a shiver down anyone's spine. At school, Ruby is pulled aside by Nancy Ryan, a social services inspector tipped off by Alvin. Ruby pours out the entire story: the shared bedroom, the medicine cabinet, the strange behavior. Nancy promises to investigate, but agrees to keep her name out of it. A few days later, when Nancy shows up at the Glass house, the Glasses are ready. The bedrooms have been split into two. Rhett's video games have vanished. Erin's pill bottles have been replaced with neat little containers of diabetic medication. When Nancy asks Rhett what he likes to do in the evenings, the boy looks up at her with rehearsed sweetness and says he likes to read. Ruby's heart sinks.
You have a very nice room. You've made a wonderful home for these children.
After Nancy leaves, Ruby snatches the box from her brother's hands and marches it to the trash. Inside the garbage, she finds two pieces of paper that change everything. The first is a letter from a private school, regretting that the Glasses have chosen not to enroll the children and returning the registration fee. They were never going to be sent to the school their parents wanted.
Bye now.
The second is a postcard from Uncle Jack, checking in on them and asking them to call. Ruby tears off the phone number and slips it into her pocket. Later that night, while Ruby works at the computer, Terry strolls by and asks if she is enjoying her new private bedroom. Ruby answers carefully. The moment he is gone, she tries to email Alvin and discovers her internet account has been shut down, erased. As she sits there processing it, a phone rings somewhere in the house. Terry picks up. Ruby quietly lifts another receiver and listens. It is the loan sharks. They want their money. Terry is buying time, and then Ruby hears it, the line that twists her stomach into a knot. Terry tells them he has found a new personal piggy bank.
Meanwhile, your next payment is due tomorrow. You fully understand me, Mr. Glass?
He almost catches her listening, but she ducks just in time. After he hangs up, Ruby uses a star code on the phone to pull the number the loan sharks called from. She writes it down. At school the next day, Ruby slips out of class and calls Alvin from a payphone. She tells him her email has been disabled. He tells her what he has uncovered. The BMW her parents died in was registered to Terry's company, GTI. The realization hits her like a slap. The car, the crash, Terry. Before she can say another word, her teacher appears and walks her to the vice principal's office. Her Hamlet paper has been flagged for plagiarism, lifted word for word from a book called Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human. Ruby instantly understands. Terry didn't help her. He framed her.
The paper that you turned in to Mr. Kidd.
The phrase, Hamlet's Dance of Contraries, in Mr. Bloom's recent book, Shakespeare.
That is hardly the issue here, young lady. This sort of cheating has to have real consequences. We've already spoken to your guardians.
He copied the paper deliberately, knowing her past would make her look guilty. And conveniently, the school has already informed the Glasses. At home, Erin tries to play peacemaker, but Terry steps in, cold and firm, telling Ruby it is time she took responsibility for her actions. Ruby goes upstairs and finds something that makes her blood run cold. A glossy brochure for the Challenge School for Teenage Girls, an all-female boarding school in Washington State. Terry isn't just controlling her, he is preparing to ship her away. It is 4 a.m. when Ruby decides she is done. She tries Uncle Jack on the phone. The answering machine picks up. With no other choice, she steals Terry's car keys, wakes her brother, punches in the alarm code she memorized days ago, and slips out into the night. They take one of Terry's cars and disappear into the dark Malibu hills. But fate is not on her side. Down the highway, a mudslide has blocked the road. A police officer pulls them over, questions Ruby's age, and asks for her license and registration she of course doesn't have. Just as she begins to plead her case, headlights flood the road behind them. Terry and Erin, caught.
We have a little behavior problem.
Hard time right now, sweetheart.
Hey, you know, teenage girls. Good luck.
Over, hon.
Turn around right here. Thanks.
On the drive back, Ruby finally says it out loud. She tells Terry she knows what he did. She knows he killed her parents for the money. Terry denies it, but the muscles in his jaw tighten in a way that says everything. The instant the car pulls into the driveway, Ruby bolts for the door. Terry catches her, drags her into the house, and pins her to the floor. He looks her in the eye and whispers the truth she has been chasing all along. They don't need her. They only need one of the children to access the trust fund. Rhett alone is enough. Ruby screams for Erin, who appears at the doorway and walks toward her, syringe in hand. There is no rescue coming. Erin sinks the needle into Ruby's arm, and the world goes black. A month passes. Ruby's old friends in town wonder where she went. They haven't heard a word. Inside the glass house, she has spent every one of those days drifting in a chemical fog, kept under by repeated doses of fentanyl. Terry, meanwhile, is unraveling. The loan sharks call again, and this time they will not be put off. Desperate, he visits the trustee handling the children's inheritance and asks for an advance, claiming he wants to build the kids a new wing of the house. The trustee, who has somehow received a faxed copy of the letter from the private school, looks at him like a man looking at a liar. The request is denied. Across town, Erin is at the hospital inflating her patients' prescriptions to siphon off the extra drugs. Her supervisor calls her in. They know. Her medical license is being revoked. The supply that has been keeping Ruby unconscious and Erin functional is about to vanish. Back at the house, Terry and Erin argue, and a deeper truth bleeds out. Erin only became an addict after Terry murdered the Bakers. She wanted out. Terry tells her it is too late, the damage is done. They need to finish what they started. He needs to get rid of Ruby for good. With no more sedatives at her disposal, Erin sits alone in the bedroom, clutching one last hidden syringe. Beside it, she finds an old home video. She slides it into the player. On the screen, a much younger Erin plays in the surf with a little girl with bright eyes. Ruby, years ago, when she was still a child, both of them had loved. The guilt rises until it swallows her. She empties the syringe into her own arm. The next morning, Ruby drifts back into consciousness. Something heavy is lying next to her. She turns. Erin is in the bed beside her, eyes open, skin cold, dead. Ruby sits up slowly, the drugs still clouding her vision, and forces herself to move. She finds a phone and calls for help, whispering the address into the receiver. But Terry is already returning to the house, fresh morphine in his coat pocket, ready to put Ruby back under. He hears her on the phone. He sees Erin's body, and whatever shred of restraint he had left burns away.
Terry needs to sit down and talk to your kids.
Ruby grabs Rhett and they run. They hide, dodging through the glass labyrinth as Terry stalks them room by room. Rhett tries for the front door and Terry slams him to the ground. Ruby strikes Terry from behind, but he recovers, catches them both, and hurls them into the basement, slamming the door shut. In the dark, the siblings find a small high window and a wrench abandoned on the floor. Quietly, methodically, they begin breaking through the wire mesh. Through the cracked window, they can see Terry in the garage. He is bent over his Jaguar, working at something with a tool. He is cutting the brake line. Then he rolls the car out of the garage, parks it neatly outside, and walks back into the house. He pours himself a drink, sits on the couch, sets the keys to the Jaguar on the table beside him, and pretends to pass out. The trap is set. He wants the kids to take the Jaguar and die in the wreck, leaving him sole guardian of the $4 million inheritance.
You fell asleep. It's gonna be a change of plans, okay?
Rhett squeezes through the broken window, grabs the keys from the unconscious Terry, and unlocks the basement. The siblings creep through the house, ready to run, when the doorbell rings. Ruby pulls Rhett behind a wall. Through the gap, they watch as Alvin Beglater walks in. The lawyer has come in person because Terry won't answer the phone, and he has news. The bank has frozen the guardianship account. There is an investigation underway, and then comes the gut punch. Alvin admits to Terry that he was the one who told him everything Ruby had been reporting, every accusation, every plea. He trusted Terry the way David and Grace had trusted Terry. He believed he was protecting the children from being lost to the foster system. Behind the wall, Ruby understands. Alvin wasn't a villain. He was a fool with good intentions. And his good intentions nearly got her killed.
Because I trusted you, and the Bakers trusted you. If you've been lying, then the courts are going to step in. These children are taken from you. They have no place to go.
He thought he was helping us.
A red sports car pulls up outside. Two men in dark coats step out. The loan sharks have arrived, summoned by a phone call from Terry's wife, or so they were told. In truth, it was Ruby who made that call.
Your wife was kind enough to call us this morning, give us a little heads up.
What?
I son of a bitch doesn't have our money. What's going on, Terry?
They walk into the house demanding their money. Terry stammers that he doesn't have it and points the blame at Alvin, claiming the lawyer is his silent partner who has been skimming from him. Alvin tries to leave. He doesn't make it 3 steps. One of the enforcers drives a blade into him and he collapses. Terry exhales, certain the problem is solved. The enforcers turn to him. They are not leaving without him. They are taking him with them in his own car, the Jaguar parked outside. Terry's face goes white. He pleads for them to take the Volvo from the garage instead, anything but the Jaguar. They drag him to the garage, but when the door rolls up, both tires of the Volvo are slashed flat. Terry's mind races. The Jaguar it is. They tape his mouth, bind his wrists, and shove him into the passenger seat. One man takes the Jaguar with Terry, the other takes the red sports car. They tear off into the night. In the shadows, Ruby watches them disappear down the winding Malibu road, a knife trembling in her hand. She slashed those tires. On a curve high above the cliffs, the Jaguar's brakes give out. The car drifts, the wheel useless. It slams into the red sports car ahead, sending the second loan shark spinning into the path of an oncoming truck. The collision is brutal. The first enforcer is dead. The Jaguar, still without brakes, plows through the guardrail and hurls itself over the edge of a small cliff into the dark. A few minutes later, Ruby and Rhett walk hand in hand down the empty road. A patrol car slows beside them and the officer offers them a ride. Grateful, they climb in. As the cruiser rolls onward, they pass the wreckage of the red sports car, lit by flashing lights and crowded with police. Then, further on, the officer spots a section of the guardrail torn open. He pulls over, radios for backup, and tells the children to wait while he climbs down the slope. He finds the Jaguar at the bottom. He finds one body. He radios in the fatality and the location. He does not see the second figure rising behind him.
5L110, I have a roll of 2 backup units, 10-4.
Terry, bloody, dazed but alive, swings out of the dark and knocks the officer unconscious. He takes the gun from the man's belt. Then he climbs back up to the road, eyes locked on the patrol car. Ruby sees him first. Her brother screams. In a single fluid motion, she leaps into the front seat, snatches the keys from the ignition and fumbles to start the engine. Terry advances, blood streaking his face, the gun rising. Ruby gets the car running, throws it into reverse, then slams it to a halt. For a flicker of a second, she goes still and her parents fill her mind. The crash, the car, the man behind it all. She tells Rhett to buckle his seatbelt. She fastens her own. Then she puts the car in drive and floors it. Terry fires. Ruby drives straight through him. His body crumples onto the hood, then slides off into the asphalt behind them. The car finally stops. Ruby sits frozen, her hands shaking on the wheel. Sirens build in the distance. 2 more cruisers arrive, called in by the unconscious officer's final radio message. The man who took everything from her is dead. A short time later, beneath a soft California sky, Ruby and Rhett kneel beside a double headstone and lay flowers down for the two people they loved most. Standing behind them is Uncle Jack, the man Ruby once dismissed as a stranger from a distant city. He places a steady hand on each of their shoulders. He tells them they are going home with him to Chicago and that whatever life waits for them there, it will be a good one. Ruby looks down at the grave, then up at the open sky above her. For the first time in a long time, there are no walls of glass around her. Nothing watching, nothing waiting. Just air and her brother's hand in hers, and the quiet promise of a life she can finally call her own.